Good day, everybody. Today's date is Friday, November the 27th, 2020. And I have with me here again a very special man, Tim from the Water Shop in Burlington. Tim, how are you today?
Fine, thank you.
That's terrific. Well, thank you very much for being with me again here, Tim. For those of you that are not familiar with Tim and his situation, he's a small business owner in Burlington here, Ontario. He has a wonderful water shop. If you need water, I highly recommend everybody goes there and gets their water from him. Great service, wonderful environment, and he's a great man that stood up to help all the other businesses out there from a trespass that occurred against him several weeks ago. So if it's okay, Tim, I'll just give everyone a quick little rundown of what happened here. Is that many weeks ago, it was about 3 weeks ago, I guess, Tim, 4 weeks ago?
Before, yeah.
Yeah, about 4 weeks ago, Tim had a couple of bylaw officers that came into his store from the service corporation called the City of Burlington. And they were trespassing at that time because they started to administrate, not only try to administrate against Tim in his store, but also over people that were also there, part of Tim's, customer base. And what happened is that he upset one of the customers so much, the bailiff, or pardon me, the bylaw officer, is that this woman unfortunately left the store very emotional and in tears almost. And Tim was not happy at that point, obviously, so he stepped in and he basically kicked these two people out. There were two bylaw officers. They were playing like a good cop, bad cop sort of scenario. And then what happened after that is that some communication started to come to them, back to Tim, that they were going to come back to his store. And this was all basically drilling down on these quarantine act, I guess, rules, from social distancing to the mask wearing and God knows what other type of rules and conditions they're trying to impose on top of the people today. So as a result of that, Tim had called me. I've been with Tim for about a little over a year now as a customer. And I told him if you ever had any problems, give me a call. So I was more than happy when he called me on this to sit down with them and to discuss moving forward. So what happened was, Tim, is that when this trespass occurred, obviously it was very upsetting in your store, and you and I entered into a process. And as I explained to Tim, it was going to be 3 communications, 3 notices to the woman who acts as mayor, because she's ultimately responsible for these people that work under her control at this service corporation. As being the top person mayor, any agents and officers under her control, she's ultimately liable should they cause any wrong or harm to another fellow man or woman. So these 2 officers came into your store, Tim, as we talked about earlier. They weren't the most kind people in what they did. And just to recap with everyone quickly, we sent out first 2 notices to the mayor. And what happened after we sent the second notice to the mayor? There was a letter that came from the city as well. Was there not at that time?
Yes, there was a response from the head of the bylaw. I think it was a lady that responded, and she just responded with sending me the bylaws that they have that don't apply to me.
Right.
So we then ended up writing the final and 3rd notice to send to the mayor, and explain to her that this does not apply to us, and that she should educate her people on what they are allowed to do and not to do.
Right. That's right. And this is a new experience for Tim as well. He's always known, as when we started talking, that, he knew that something was obviously wrong in this country, in this world. Everyone sees something's wrong in the justice system, but we just don't quite understand what it is. And I think through this trespass, this process that Tim has now gone through, do you have a much more clear understanding now, Tim, of your rights as a man with your own property and your business, as opposed to these people that are coming and acting against you from these service corporations that have no rights?
Oh, for sure. It's really put the final icing on the cake. Made all the pieces come together with what you hear, and then to actually go through it and do it. It's like, oh yeah, okay, now I understand it a lot better.
Yep.
So it's awesome that way. I wish I didn't have to.
Yes.
But we did, and that's the way it is. And so now we just move forward.
That's right. And, I want to say to everybody too, I want to thank Tim. Obviously, I'll do it again at the end here, but what Tim's done here, he's done for everybody, right? He knew that there was something that was wrong, and through the grace of God, we got brought together. in this experience, in this trespass that occurred. So we prepared these 3 communications notices. We sent them out. Again, we got a response on the second one because they hadn't responded. And I'll tell you this now, that there was also, after this third one, a man from Australia actually wrote to Marion Mead as well. I don't think I forwarded that to you. He was
No.
following up with her because he knew from our discussions and live streams that she was not responding in writing, right? She was not bringing forth the honorable communication that was required for these people that were under her control, where they had jurisdiction to come into your store and do what they did. So we've done the first 2 letters, which you can go back and you can see. And so we're going to quickly go over the third letter here that we sent here. I'm going to do a little share screen with you here now, Tim, and that should basically do it. Terrific. Now, do you see that, Tim?
Yes.
Do you see the Marion Mead letter?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's great. I've got a screwy screen here, so it's acting up on me. So let's just walk through this here. This was the final communication. I'll show you the 3. This is the first one that we did on October the 23rd. Okay, this is the notice that we sent here. This is all downloadable on my website, www.awarriorcalls.com. Look under the case file numbers, and I believe it's, there's 5 cases there. I think yours is number 4. Tim, excuse me if I'm getting mixed up, but people can simply find them there.
It's okay.
It's case number 4, I believe, 3 or 4.
Yes, it is.
Yep, 4. So when you go there, these documents that Tim and I prepared and that we sent in as notices, communications to the mayor, these are the same communications that all of you can tweak them a bit, but you have to read and understand the words that are being communicated at this time. So again, these are a good little guide for everybody to write to your mayors, but it always boils down to these same 3 points that we have here on this page right now. So this is the first letter that went on October 23rd. You can see the 3 points here that we're discussing. Again, you can download these and read these again. The letter just wraps up. There's another thing that we need to talk about within these communications. We told them that if their officers trespass again, as I'm showing here, it's $25,000 per agent. Plus what we also gave them is information of videos that is proving that this COVID is a lie. Okay, these people that are acting as mayor, they are the most ignorant in this world, along with law enforcement, okay? For some reason, they can't seem to take the time and find out what everybody else is seeing and knowing is that this whole COVID psyops, we've all been lied to, okay? And people like Tim, these small businesses that are being told to be locked down or incur all these additional draconian measures with interaction with people that are coming into their store for use of their products or services is causing havoc right across this country. It's actually destroying businesses that we're seeing happening right now in Etobicoke. So this is the first communication that you see. It's a letter basically to the mayor, and then there's a notice at the end of liability, and it basically says, I, Tim, of his last name family, do hereby give notice liability, produce written verifiable evidence with wet signature immediately that Mary Ann, that's the woman who was acting as mayor, or any man or woman under her control claim my property. That's the first thing. The 3 words, as I've taught Tim, that are very powerful are property, trespass, and who. Second question is required answer is Mary Ann or any man or woman under her control can administrate property without right. And the very last point that you put to them is the obligation, the contract that exists with the service corp and wherever is your municipality name, ours is the city of Burlington, relinquishing my rights. So these people at the city of Burlington, if they're going to come into a store and say that he's bound by these bylaws, remember, these people created them within their own service corporation. It's like McDonald's going creating this nonsense and then coming into your store say, hey, McDonald's codes or civil bylaw rules of civil procedure, you've broke it, Tim. Well, Tim would be like, who the hell are you guys, right? I don't know who you guys are. I've got nothing to do. You want to produce this obligation with your corporation called McDonald's upon which you're relying to come into my store and try and administrate over me? See how simple it is for people to understand that. And this is what Tim got now. So we've done the first notice that was there. This is the second notice that went out on October the 27th.
And because we did not get a response, we sent out this second notice.
Absolutely, Tim. Great timing there. Well, I got a drink, my friend. Love it.
For sure.
So, so we'll just quickly scroll down through this. It says October the 27th. Here's the second notice that you're giving to them. And as Tim said, they didn't respond to the first notice. So the first one went to them on the 23rd. We got them a second communication on the 24th. You don't allow this to languish, okay, people? You give them 3 days tops to respond to, and then you hit them back again with another communication. And you get all this on the record. You always copy yourselves on the email so that you have a written copy communication verifying that they did receive this. And Tim also copied me on these as well. So the next document goes October 27th. Here's the second notice of liability. Again, it's to the woman. There's the 3 questions we talked about you're hitting her with. It's basically the same notice again. Okay, all written up here again. You're showing her what the trespass is going to be. It's the same information because we want on the record that this woman has been shown and told that the COVID lie, okay, has been given to her. She's got the evidence now. After this happened, I believe I shared with the verified doctor, the virologist out of Edmonton. Tim, did you see that video?
Just briefly.
Yeah, it's up on BitChute if anybody wants to watch it. And it's again under a Warrior Calls, and it's incredible. That's what I've been trying to get Tim to put up in his water store there on a TV. And you just run this stuff 24/7 so that when people come in, they're going to hear this doctor. Again, he's a top virologist. He used all the Canadian government's records. He's livid. He totally laid into the people at a municipal of Edmonton, a city in Alberta, Canada here. And he laid right into them professionally exactly of the lies and the deceit that the world is being fed surrounding this virus, that there is no virus. You have 1 in 300,000 chance of catching it, okay, which is a huge thing. And like I said, it's absolutely incredible. So you should go and search for that video on YouTube. You'll find it under a Warrior Calls. Again, it's a very short 4-minute video. And that's something that our world needs to be spreading virally right now because it is very powerful to the truth and the lies that we've all been fed. And it's important that we use this trespass that's occurred against Tim, as you will also use with these people that are coming into your stores or businesses from these service corporations. And you provide this evidence to them as well, because everybody needs to understand the very simple truth that we've been lied to here. Okay, so as we work our way back through this here, it goes back down, it ends again. There's the second notice liability. It's the exact same thing, and there's the 3 questions. Otherwise, do not trespass. They've got to produce the evidence surrounding these 3 questions. Okay, and if they don't have it, his wet signature, they're going to claim that Tim's property, or they've got a contract with his wet signature. And having a business license isn't a contract with these people. As I'm teaching people now, is that nobody in this world, nobody requires a license to operate a business. Okay, this is also part of the massive corruption. If you're going to operate a business, you go right ahead and operate it in your name and any name that you create. But just remember something: if you ever cause any wrong or harm, a trespass against a man or woman, you're going to be held liable. Okay, it's that simple. Now, in the food industry, I realize we need to have a little bit more over protections, you know, at least from a cleanliness standpoint, that there's a collective that goes around and ensures that these restaurants and that are at least keeping up their standards as far as cleanliness and that. I have no problem with that. I think everybody would agree with that. And so would the restaurants. But beside anything outside of that, these service corporations, they have no business coming in and telling you how to run your business unless you're breaching the peace, right, and causing wrong or harm to another man or woman. You are to be left alone like Tim, and to have a successful business and work within your community with your fellow man and woman. So Tim's done this all honorably all the way through. So we sent out the second communication notice or whatever. And then it was after this, as Tim said, that we got the communication from the senior bylaw officer. So then after that, we immediately wrote back on the October the 23rd, which would have been, I believe that was the last, what date was this one? So everyone's clear on the dates. Yeah, October the 27th. That was the last one I
was the second.
That was the second one, yeah. And actually, it says October the 23rd for the third one here. Sorry, that should have been October the 30th, I believe, is the date that are.
Yes.
I apologize. I pulled up the wrong one here. Let me just.
That is the third communication, though.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's just for some reason I didn't have the. Yeah. Okay, I don't want to give that. Shoot.
Yeah, there it is. 30th.
Oh, okay. Away from the shirt.
Yeah, that was, I think, the first one that we did, and then we made corrections.
Right. Yeah, actually, it was just the notice is the same here, but I should, just to make sure there. So again, we can just, this has all been redacted out. So this is the third communication that Tim and I prepared and we sent out. Again, I apologize. The date should have been, I just grabbed the wrong. It's on October the 30th, but the communication is the same here. So it starts off as this, Mary Ann. This is the third, again, from the top. You give the date to them. Regards Trespass by Mary Ann Mead. That's the woman acting as mayor and people under her control. And this is the third notice liability. Mary Ann, this is the third communication to a woman who acts as mayor for the Service Corporation Burlington. I received a communication from a woman, Carrie Davrin, on Wednesday, October the 28th, 2020 at 9:53 a.m. Is Carrie the mayor of this service corporation called Burlington I wrote to, or is Mary Ann? Remember, we were writing communications to the woman who's running the service corporation, not some woman that works in a department that has, that's not in charge or has the entire corporation under her control. That's why I always write to the top man or woman, because that's who you hold ultimately liable if they're not going to correct these agents and officers that are working under them, because that's where the rubber hits the road. So it says there, I wrote directly to Marianne Mead to address this trespass, not people under your control, ignorant of law. And Devrin was ignorant of law as she tried to purport to Tim. In her response, she gave him all these bylaws and codes and statutes that she was saying gave them the jurisdiction to do what they're doing. And that's when you draw down simply that, well, who wrote these bylaw communications that you're claiming have jurisdiction over I? And then you ultimately get down to, well, there's a handful of people that wrote them. And unless they're going to come forward on behalf of the service corporation and point to Tim in an open court and say that that man's my property, or again, that they say that we can administrate his property without right, or they've got what, Tim, that obligation, right? Unless they've got that obligation there saying that that with Tim's wet signature that he's agreed to whatever rules and conditions they're trying to impose upon him, then they have no jurisdiction. And again, that word jurisdiction means control. They have no control over you. So it says legal does not apply to we the people. Fact, the law of this land is common law and not common legal, because all these service corporation agents, they're applying legal terms and legal rules, codes and statutes to we the people, because they are obviously ignorant of the separation and difference. The same applies to another corrupt service corporation called Ontario, who must also produce contract. The city of Burlington is a service corporation, no different than McDonald's, Tim Hortons, Home Depot, etc. And unless Marianne produces the contract with my wet signature relied to trespass as claimed, then Carey Communication, that's the woman that worked as the senior bylaw officer, multiple internal PDF policy, is pure garbage based on ignorance. And that's what she was producing with Tim and attaching to his email were these PDFs that were just nonsense. So let's be perfectly clear. Not Marianne nor any man or woman at this service corporation or any makes laws or binds we the people to such nonsense as presented by Carey, who believes people are property. So it's a very powerful word, as Tim is starting to learn, that you use that against anyone that's trying to trespass. They must obviously be under the impression that you are their property if they don't have a contract with your wet signature allowing them, giving them that right to do whatever they're acting against you. Remember, when people are acting in a role, they have no duty. They have duties and obligations. They do not have rights. Only a man or woman has rights, and you're not ever acting as a man or woman. You're always in that capacity, unless you're going to act as something else, as a fireman, a policeman, a doctor, or a bylaw officer, or a mayor. Right? And that's how quickly it is to simply tear these things down when you realize who these people are and where their jurisdiction, their duties and obligations end, where your rights begin. Okay? So it's real simple to understand. And so the part that was very disturbing in the letter that Carey wrote was, Carey wrote the issues noted about officer conduct, because we were saying that we require an investigation why this officer was allowed to come into this man's private store on his property and harass, intimidate, and make an elderly woman cry. Right? He trespassed against her in a horrific way. So we responded to them, we require a full accounting of this. And she responded back, the issue noted about officer conduct will be investigated as a private personnel matter, and no further information will be provided publicly. Okay? So what you're seeing here is a woman, as Tim's starting to learn here, I've dealt with this municipality many times over the years, and you find that this is rampant across all of these municipal governments, is that they have this culture of entitlement within their society, within their corporate structure, that they can basically do whatever they want because they've been getting away with all of this stuff through these nonsense processes that they've created, from everything from the Planning Act to how their bylaws are created or rules are implemented, or etc. And that's why it's time that we stop all of this stuff once and for all in its track, and we do a hard reset. And what Tim has done here is help let a light forward. And so in finishing it up here, it says, nor was any contract producing Carey Communication, just PDFs that do not apply to I or we the people. Again, Tuesday, October the 20th, 2020 at 2:30 p.m., 2 people under Marianne control trespassed without right. These agents under your control are a man, Abraham Derbarby or whatever his name is, and a man, Mike Metcalf. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mike was the gentleman that made the woman very emotional, Tim?
Right. He approached 2 of the customers in here. And when the one man that came in, he was a potential customer, saw this, he all but ran out of here.
Right. And so, like I said, that's why it was important that we did these letters to them, because they were threatening to come back to Tim's office the following Monday. That was was that a Tuesday or a Wednesday that they did that, Tim?
I believe so.
Right. And then they were sending you communications right after they left your office that day after this altercation, that they were going to come back and follow up to see that you were following all these bylaws and codes and rules, whatever, on the following Monday. Was that correct?
Exactly.
That's right. So just to recap to everybody, when the first two communications came, the first communication went out, they didn't show up on the Monday. Okay. Because we hit them with that before the Monday. On the Friday, I think they got that.
Correct.
And then, so they didn't show up on the Monday, and then we filed out on the Wednesday. That's when the second communication went off that we got the response from Carrie. And then by the end of the week there, we followed off the third communication to Marianne because she had not responded to obviously these questions she is required to answer, why these people were acting this way in Tim's store. So again, it's the same as we've seen the first three communications. Everything else is exactly the same, except for I said it just changes at the top part here when because we're addressing now, we're drawing in what Carrie wrote, the actual response that came to Tim. So again, it goes down here, and again, we're giving them the information, the knowledge. We're telling them we're reaching our hand out. You know, we're reaching out to help them, to say, listen, you got to wake up here. You've all been lied to. We've all been lied to. We're pointing them to the evidence where all the truth lies surrounding the doctors and that have come out, where it's exposed, which is on my BitChute website channel. And then again, we ended again, you know, we the people are wide awake to the rampant corruption. Govern yourselves accordingly. I trust this is crystal clear to the woman Marianne Mead, ward for the third time, and all under her control. I will swear under oath or affirmation that all herein said be true, right? Kind regards, and then there's the final notice, right? And it's the same things again that you're requiring her. And otherwise, if they do trespass again, they're going to be fined at $25,000. So that happened. Bring you back here, Tim. That happened. The third communication went out, and then what happened was you never heard anything for about a week, correct?
Correct.
Right. And then all of a sudden you got a communication. Do you want to walk everyone slowly through with the next communication, how they approached you this time?
They had the bylaw officer that originally talked with me, Abraham, and it might be wrong. I apologize for that. So Abraham, he called me on my office phone and asked if I could meet with him outside. I told him, no, you're not allowed on my property. You can come into my store to buy water as a man. You are not allowed in my store or on my property if you are representing the corporation of the city of Burlington.
Beautiful. So
And
let's just stop there, full stop for a second. The first part, the first key word that Tim used there was, what did he do? He asked, didn't he?
yes,
He asked, he was asking Tim now for permission if he could even come and meet with him, not in his store, outside of his store in the parking lot. Okay. So they recognized right away that, you know, we can't do this, you know, and now this guy's trying to come back and be honorable, but yet he's still allowing his ignorance, not recognizing that this whole COVID crap, he has no business doing this stuff in the first place. So that's the next hurdle, obviously, that we have to get through. But as I teach people, you don't put the cart before the horse. So we achieved this first thing. Now this man is calling and asking to come to the store, and Tim correctly responded to him. He said, no, you're not coming here in any capacity as you appeared before, acting as a bylaw officer for the city of Burlington, but you're more than welcome to come here and purchase any water, and you're welcome in my store in that capacity. So you see, Tim is being very honorable there, and he's also sticking to his guns to exactly what his three letters of communications spoke to before. Now, since this has all happened, Tim, have you had any problems with the city of Burlington? Have they come back, harassed you since that horrific first trespass?
no, they have not been back here that I know of. Not during the hours that I am here, which are from Monday to Saturday from 7 in the morning till approximately 6 at night.
That's right. And are you wearing a mask in your store?
No.
Okay, that's great. So this is what I'm saying, people. You know, Tim understands his rights as a man. He understands where his hierarchy is in this world. And hopefully Tim is starting to learn now, as I'm teaching people, is that none of us require a license to operate a business, okay? He's a big boy there, okay? And I'm a big boy here too. We're both men and women that are out there too. We all have every right to operate our business as we see fit. You don't need a license for it. Okay, if Tim, like I said, was in the food business, well, then we need to have some sort of oversight, I guess you could say, from a cleanliness aspect in all the restaurants if they're going to pop up. That I think everyone would agree with, as we talked to earlier. But in this case here, you know, Tim's running a water store. You know, he has all the filtration equipment that's there. And the bottom line is this, is that, you know, where the rubber hits the road for Tim or anybody else is that if he causes wrong or harm to a man or woman because of his products or his services that he's providing to people, then Tim's liable. Okay. Other than that, he doesn't require a license to do diddly squat. Okay. And that's why they're trying to use all this licensing that everyone's gone and registered, creating foolishly, thinking that that's what they, require to run and operate their business in this world. This is what's all got convoluted with all these bylaws, because that business that you've registered, it falls under the jurisdiction in the legal world of this higher service corporation called Ontario. But again, this Service Corporation Ontario doesn't have a carte blanche that they can start going out. For example, as we saw with Paul Hellier the other day on Parliament Hill, he got a ticket. Right. And the ticket is in regards to, you ready for this? It's called the Reopening Act, the Reopening of Ontario Act. Right. This is something that they've just recently written, Tim. Right. And it says, and then it's got at the end of it, like as if there's additions that they can add to, like it's an open-ended act that they can just keep adding stuff to it. And then they're going to fine people for. This is why people need to see the theaters finally out into the light. OK, people are seeing the corruption.
This is what they do in communist countries.
Yep. And that's what they're trying to do here. So, Tim, I'm so grateful for what you've done here for the people. Do you want to, now we know there's some other stores here in Burlington. There's a great restaurant called Sorties that I'm going to try and reach out to as well. They've been around for almost 40 years and they were in the news a few weeks ago. So Tim and I, we're going to do what we can with people around here. Tim, are you familiar with Adam from the barbecue store out in Etobicoke? What's been going on with him the last few days?
Yes, I've been trying to keep updated on that.
Well, I've reached out to him as well, and hopefully we're going to be able to bring everybody together on this in the very near future, because this is a wonderful moment. I talked about it already, but I want to talk about it again here today, is that, just as Tim has been acting honorable, in all his communications and how he's dealt with these people at the city, right? Because we have to realize we've all been lied to. We got to take a higher road. For those of us that are awake, you've got to feel sorry for your fellow man and them. Even if they're still coming at you, trespassing, you've got to stand your ground firmly and honorably, as Tim has done here. You see that nothing in his communications when you download them off my website have been done with malice or intent, or we're making any type of vile threats to anybody, but we're letting them know, look, you've done this now. We've given you 3 notices. Do not show up on my property again, or you're contracting with me. That's what ultimately the trespass means, is that you've read the terms and conditions to come onto this man's property. It doesn't matter if it's at Tim's store or if it's at a farmer's field that's out there and these signs are hanging up. Wherever these signs hang in front of a man or woman's place, what is their property, you have to respect them. And if you breach those rules, then it's like contracting. You're going to be held accountable to that fine, because you're not going to be able to deny that you were not told or shown, as we've done here with Tim. So in closing, Tim, do you want to give some wonderful words of encouragement to other business owners out there at this time that may be going through similar, frustrations with the municipalities that they work for, and how they should begin this process to let them know that you're going to hold them accountable one way or another, and this is how we come together and address this wrong and harm?
Yeah, we need all to stick together. We need to help each other out where we can. If anybody is having issues, go to your website and download the papers that we have sent off, and use that as a template to start the process. Don't let them bully you. Don't let them push you around. Stand your ground. Things will work out. Things will come your way. You can't let them run your business. You can't let them try to put us into a socialist, communist country. We need to prevent that. And this is where we start right now. And if this isn't happening to you, but you can help out people that this is happening to, please help them out. However you can, with the knowledge, with downloading, printing off paperwork and telling them, here, this is the route you need to take. And try to make it public and let everybody know. The more people that know, the better it is. We all need to see this light and put a stop to what they are trying to do with this scandemic and everything else that is going on.
Absolutely, Tim. Absolutely. So I would just like to thank you so much, Tim. You're a dear friend of me. You're like a brother from another mother. And I'm so proud to have met you. And like I said, it's great that we came together. Everything in this world happens for a reason. I truly believe that.
Exactly.
And it's been a wonderful situation for you and I to share with people what has gone on here. Oh, actually, before we go, just tell people, that how people from around the world have reached out to you. Some of the really
Oh,
wonderful things that people have done. You told me about.
yeah, I've had people calling me from out west, Alberta, and they all are, going through the same thing, lockdowns and being told how to run their business, and they're not allowed to do this, they're not allowed to do that. I have had calls from every province, I think, in Canada. And I even had a couple people from Australia call. I believe there was one call from South America. I'm getting quite a few calls, and it's been unbelievable to see that so many people have seen things and are backing you up and saying, good, don't let them push you around, stick to your guns. It's always nice to hear people back you up rather than people that just think that this is what we should be doing. Um, Let everybody else run our businesses and run our lives, which is just ludicrous.
Yeah.
So it's been marvelous with the people reaching out, and we try to talk with everybody that does reach out. Sometimes you're busy, and I'm on the phone, so they can leave a message or call back. But I try to make sure that I touch base with everybody and thank them for backing us up, and uh, the encouraging words are just sometimes overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really beautiful. That's what I mean, Tim. That's the experience I've gone through as well. Is when I stepped into this and started coming out into the light here, it's your phone starts to ring and you get communications from people all over the world. And then you realize that you are not alone. Truly, that you realize that there are millions of people out there that feel and understand and know the same things that are in your heart. And that's why when we're bringing this truth through, that's why this communication is so important. We're doing, everyone. It's a communication that needs to be brought out into the forefront from all these interactions that we're having with police, especially right now. And once we engage in this conversation and we get the foundational truth laid out that they've not been given, then all this stuff is going to go away. So I just want to again thank you very much, Tim, on behalf of everybody for stepping up to the plate here. And we'll keep everybody up to date as we move forward with these other things locally in Burlington here, because I want people to know that Tim's committed himself to me to help in any way he can to bring other businesses online. So
For sure.
we'll do
And
that in the future.
I have to do a shout out to a few people that are coming from another town. There's a few people from Oakville that come and just want to support, and so they're buying vitamins that I sell, and water plans, a cooler. It's just remarkable on the support, and them people that are making that extra effort to back up a small business guy.
Yep. Absolutely wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that for you too, Tim, because you deserve it. And all of us deserve it. And let that be a light to everybody to just show you that, when you stand in truth, there's millions of people out there of your fellow man that understand this truth too. They are going to come and stand with you. And it's demonstrated in many different capacities surrounding Tim. It's not just getting, as he said, the phone calls or the written support. People are actually, putting the metal where their, money where their mouth is, and they're actually driving quite a substantial difference to Tim's store to actually get product from him. And that speaks louder than anything to this truth that's resonating right now to our fellow man. So I'll say goodnight for now, Tim, and we'll bring you back on in the next few weeks again, as it's going to get exciting, as you know, with the stuff that's happening with Adam and the barbecue place. But once we start to bring all these business owners together and we're all under the hood, and then we come out into the light with this one consecutive message, as I've demonstrated, that's been presented here from you to the mayor of the city of Burlington, this is the same conversation that's going to happen. It's those same three questions. It's the same three questions that Doug Ford's got to answer. It's the same three questions that Justin Trudeau's got to answer. The same three questions. And when they can't answer them, then they're exposed that not a damn thing that they put pen to paper applies to we the people. just as Tim and I have demonstrated here with this Service Corporation Burlington, where he's been completely left alone now. He's back to running his business as he sees fit, and he's here to be and support the public in any way, in every way, shape, and form, but he's doing it honorably, and he's doing it standing in truth. So from my heart to yours, Tim, thank you very much, and have
Thank
a
you.
wonderful evening.
Same to you, Chris.